Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, in some cases, good night. Big up to you lot tuned in. You know, hopefully August is filled with blessings. We've got Dan in the building. Fridays, I'm either on his channel, he's here. We say, my guy, how's the holiday? How was everything before we obviously discussed the club we support, my friend?
Bless, bro. It was so good, man. Come on. You know when you need a break so badly that you enjoy it when you're away and you think, do you know what? I'm going to upload a few things, but getting away from this laptop, getting away from the computer, sitting on this chair, as much as I love it, everyone needs a break from something they do every day, right? So I had a nice holiday, surprised the family. It's been great fun. And I got to the stage where I had no idea if I was coming on your show or you were coming on mine, mate.
Yeah, we was talking about that, yeah.
So apologies, man. But yeah, sorry I'm late as well, man. But big up to everyone.
My lateness is greatness. Word to Matisse, man. It's all good, man. But be honest though, man, because I hear you. You're right about that. About like, obviously, you know, you're in front of your laptop all the time. But really and truly, how much could you detach? Because obviously, you know, you got to keep one ear to Arsenal. And, you know, I watched your Gyökeres video. I share exactly how you felt. Was all up in arms and amazed about it, man.
Yeah, it was hard to keep away from it. I think for me, when people who don't know, you'll know exactly what I mean, but people who don't do this every day, people sometimes see you 2 or 3 hours a day and think, oh, that's quite a nice life. 2 or 3 hours is beautiful. I'd love to work 2 or 3 hours a day. When you realize what 2 or 3 hours a day looks like, you realize actually if you double or triple that sometimes you might get close. So I think, I think for me, doing a sort of 20 to 30 minute sort of update a day was still beautiful, but it wasn't allowing me entirely to get detached from it. I've got to be honest with you, DG. I don't want to detach myself from it. Like, we love it, right? So I didn't want to go away and think, do you know what? I hope Arsenal don't sign anybody while I'm away so I can relax and enjoy the holiday. As if I'm going to say that, man. I wanted Arsenal to be busy. I watched every preseason game with my dad. I watched every day. Do you know what I'm saying? So I wanted it to be a busy week for Arsenal. And to be fair, a lot happened whilst I was away as well in terms of links, signings, and also the preseason action. So, I got back a couple of days ago now. So I had a nice week out there. I kept it as secret as I could because I was obviously surprising family out there. And a lot of them watch my content or get sent my content or see it themselves in clips. So it's like,
to pop out the blue.
To let people know I'm going to go see my family, keep it a secret. Ain't going to be a secret for very long, right? So I had to be very careful about what I said. But everyone needs a holiday, bro. Everyone needs a holiday.
Facts, man. You're making me want to get away. You indirectly touched on it. Yeah, a lot's been happening, but like, kind of one thing I want to ask you. Obviously, there's a lot of business. Well, you could use the word a lot slightly, but there's a lot we'd like our club to do. There's a lot we've done. There's a lot that needs to be done, right? But obviously, when the window kicked off, everybody, right? We all sat there and was like, okay, we understand transfers take time and we're not on the ground and stuff, but you could forgive Arsenal fans for thinking, yo, like, what's Berta doing? He's taking forever. Now we've been getting a move on, like. Do you think people either owe him apologies or like, if you felt like that, do you feel any sort of positives around Berta now and any changes in that regard?
No, I don't think anybody owes him an apology yet because I think you have to get to the end of the window for it to close and then decide if you owe the guy apologies because there's still a load of time to go, right? But I don't have anything against the people that were frustrated in the fact that we hadn't really had enough attacking players that were coming through the door. I think the signing of Gyökeres completely made everybody relax a little bit, which I'm sure we'll come on to. But for me, Andrea Berta's position at the moment at Arsenal is one that's been kind of a work in progress, really. We've got squad players in the door. We all want to see the first teamers in the door. We're starting to see a couple more of those come in now. And then I think the thing that people probably are still waiting for him to do is not just complete our incomings, is to actually look at the player sales as well, because there's a massive job that he's got to try and get maybe 4, 5, or maybe even 6 players out the door within the next few weeks. The other thing I'll say is I don't think people have really, given enough credit, but not spoken about enough, is the fact that he's signed some of the players down that we wanted to long-term deals. So, you know, we touch on Mars Lewis Skelly and Gabriel and Ethan Nwaneri, but it's like we've brushed over that now. And it's like, well, I want Saka and Saliba. I don't think we've appreciated how hard that actually might have been to do, because there was a lot of people saying that Gabriel's head was turned in Saudi. Mars Lewis Skelly had a big decision to make. Ethan had a lot of clubs looking at him, and he's managed to get those 3 deals done. If he adds Saka and Saliba to that, brings in the players he wants, and look to get the player sales done, you have to say Andrea Berta for a first window has done unbelievable. So let's hope that we're talking about that in the next coming weeks, because I do really feel like there's a lot of people that are looking at Andrea Berta as a magician, if you get me. They're expecting him to be the magician. They're expecting him to do the unthinkable. They're expecting him to bring in a team that's going to be like, right, this is now ready. Now over to Mikel Arteta. And I think that is a lot of pressure for a guy who's literally just walked into a job a few weeks ago.
Numerous spinning plates.
Exactly. The guy's been spinning plates. Now, don't get me wrong. I think there needs to be a certain amount of pressure. I don't want to be allowing him to walk in and be like, yeah, you give yourself 6-7 months, mate. Say it.
Ain't got that time.
We don't have that time. And this is why we've brought him in. The CV that he has is an impressive one. And it is one that says I can bring in players, I can sell players, and I've got a CV that says I can win with a manager and be at the elite. And that's what he did at Atletico Madrid. So I'm expecting him to do all he can to allow Arsenal to be that. And, you know, just lastly, I think what we have to do is then wait for that window to close. And then we say to him, do you know what? You put your feet up now, because you ain't got nothing to do with this pitch. This is all to do with the manager now. You've done your job. You've got the players in. You've signed the players you want to keep. You've sold the players you want to get rid of. And you've provided our manager with the best team and the best chance of winning trophies. So go chill out now. And I think that, you know, get ready for January, because that's how I believe a sporting director should be looked at and viewed upon with the fans. We understand there's work they do behind the scenes that we don't even know about. And we understand there's stuff goes on between that kind of summer and January period. But for me, I think Andrea Berta has got a lot of pressure on him. And I think that so far he's handled it pretty well. We still believe there's stuff to do. We still want players to come in. We still got a couple more positions we're going to be looking at. And we've definitely got some players that we need to move on. But if I'm honest with you, bro, I'm starting to like what he's been doing, and the players he has got across the line, you know, swiftly, I think is massively kind of pivotal into how we signed Victor Gyökeres, which of course Berta was a massive fan of. So I think he's done some good things, man.
I don't think I can disagree with anything you said, and you summed it up well. And that obviously the first thing and the major thing I took away from that is there should be pressure on the players, the manager. Berta, this is a big club. Obviously, we're not winning them where we want to be, and we know what we didn't do last summer and what we needed to do coming into this summer. And I think so far so good in it. Like, we know that the people before put the groundwork in place for Zubimendi. All right, you got that over the line. Thomas Partey is obviously not staying. You pivoted to Norgard, whether I like him or not. Obviously, we grabbed all the players that we needed to grab at this moment in time. And I'd imagine the players that Mikel Arteta wanted, like you said, he's doing his job. I do think conversation, I'm going to ask you about this in a second, but it's now shifting towards outgoings. But so far, so good, pat on the back. And like you said, you do your job, you kick your feet up for a couple of months. January, you come into the fore again and obviously start, you know, planning for not just this season, but potentially seasons. And not that I'm necessarily saying to scapegoat Mikel Arteta, but the less nonsense around Edu did this, didn't do that, Kroenke this, that, and the other. If you've just got the players and you can deliver, we're happy as Larry. If you don't, there's serious question marks to be asked. Obviously, though, like I promise you, people, we will speak a bit in depth about Gyökeres, but we've got Gyökeres now. The saga of the Isaacs and all of these guys is done. Zubimendi's through the door. All of those others are through the door. There's still work to be done, right? But I think me and you have spoken about, and we're quite aligned in that the club are probably going to have to focus on some level of outgoings. It's like you mentioned Berta and what he did at Atletico Madrid. He comes from a financial background. So I think that was obviously going to be like an attraction to the Kroenkes, because we've got a lot of players on big wages. And I think that's where the kind of conversation shifts. Where do you look at the outgoings though, Dan? Because for me, like, I'll give you two options. Do you think it's more of a case of we're not under any PSR issues, we just want to clear ranks before we move in the market again? Or do you feel we're low-key under something in that regards?
I don't think there's any issue with PSR and Arsenal. I just don't. From what we understand, we can only listen to the Kieran Maguires and the financial people in the world. I don't know anything about Arsenal finances. I don't want to. I've got no interest in it whatsoever, bro. I'm a football fan, not an accountant. So I don't care for me what Arsenal sort of spend on players, as long as it's done properly. Like, you know, it doesn't really bother me if you're going to go and lump 290k a week on Havertz, if Kai Havertz is your next Thierry Henry. If he's not, you're going to be asking questions on why you're putting him on that much money, which is what people are doing, right? Same with Gabriel Jesus. We look at Zinchenko, we look at Martinelli, and they're all on unbelievable wages. Now, I don't know many footballers that would say no to Arsenal with those sort of wages. Now, I want our footballers to say yes to Arsenal, and I don't care how much you give me. Not, oh, I'll come to you because I'm in London. You're going to give me 300 grand a week. That shouldn't be how you attract the players.
That should all be extra stuff
that attracts you, right? So I got to be honest with you. I'd look at the financial situation. I don't believe Arsenal should have any issues whatsoever because of how much money we bring in and what we haven't spent in the last few windows. I look at the scenario, if I'm honest with you, of the outgoings, and I don't feel like there's anybody that we can sell that would genuinely bring in a serious amount of money. So therefore, I'm in the scenario thinking, just get what you can for the players you do not want. We all know who those players are. There's 4 or 5, maybe 6 of them that aren't really going to
Maybe
be a
more.
part of, the future of Arsenal, or maybe they're not get into the squad this season. You look at the likes of Fabi Vieira and Lokonga and Zinchenko, Reece Nelson. There's rumors of Trossard, maybe Jesus. None of those players are going to be bringing in 30 or 40 million each. Like, we've just got to be realistic about that. So I think what Andrea Berta's job is now to do is to try and see how much he can get for them and try and look at how he brings this wage structure down to some form of normality. Because there is no way that Gabriel Jesus and Havertz should be the 2 highest paid players at the club when they can't get into the first 11. There's no way that you can go from a club in Spain or Italy and be on £5,000 a week to jump to £125,000 a week. That should not happen. There should be a gradient, of course. If you go and pick up Kivior, who was on £2,000 a week from Spezia, now all of a sudden he's on about £75,000 a week. How do you times your wages by like 40%? Like, 40 times, sorry, I should say. 40 times your wage. I feel like that is a crazy thing to happen. And Gabriel Martinelli to be on 180k a week. Luis Diaz is on 65 grand a week. That just shows you where Liverpool are at with their kind of wages and where we're at. So I think we are in more of a mess than people realised in terms of wages.
And you look at last season as well, to age your point with the outgoings. I think that is a remit that's been here.
100%, bro. And I think when people forget, like, when we were in the doldrums, as people call it, when we were under Emery and Wenger, we had players like Kolasinac on 125k a week. We had David Luiz and Mustafi and Ozils and Aubameyangs and all these guys on crazy money. Hector Bellerin's, Leno, Chakas, El Nenis, and everyone was going, "What are they doing with the wages?"
PTSD, man.
Yeah, but you know what? You get PTSD, but some of these players ain't far off that now, DG. This is the problem. This is what Edu and Arteta have done.
We're back in that kind of mess now.
Yeah, we're back in the mess. Not to that kind of state in terms of finishing outside of the Champions League and trying to drag ourselves back into the top 4. We're not doing that. But in terms of the squad, we're in a very similar scenario because instead of
utilising the resources properly.
No, and instead of Kolasinac being on 125 a week, we've now got Zinchenko on 150 a week. And we can't get rid of him because his wages are a bit higher. Reece Nelson, I like Reece. I think he's looked sharp in training, and I hope he goes and does well in his career. But he's on £100,000 a week. Fulham are interested. They're like, Zinchenko and Nelson, I'd like them both, but they're on a combined
200k wages.
Yeah,
like
250k.
But for them, boy,
I don't want to be paying that for Zinchenko and Reece Nelson. So they're going to have to take wage cuts. Obviously, you've got the Eddie Nketiah situation. It took ages to get him out the door because he was on 100k a week. So, Calafiori, he's unbelievable. Him and Marino came, and all of a sudden, boom, they shoot straight up with their wages. Now, I think it's very attractive that Arsenal can pay people that. I think it's very important because players want to get paid. But you've also got to look at it and say, there's one or two things. We're going to pay you handsomely because we're a big club. That's one scenario. Or we're going to pay you handsomely because I don't really want anyone else to nab you off of us. So we're going to pay you a lot so that you can come here and see, wow, I get paid well here. And I don't know what scenario that is, but Andrea Berta needs to bring that down. I've got no problem with William Saliba and Saka being the highest paid players at the club. Why? Because they're the 2 best players we've got. But when Havertz and Jesus and Martinelli and Zinchenko are on this amount of money and they're hardly getting a kick, something has to change. And I think Andrea Berta is going to have to look at that.
I think you're right, man. And I think obviously what you've kind of alluded to is that throughout the years, there's been an evolution in it. Like when Martinelli got the contract, obviously 190k was a bit mad, but he was tying down our key players and obviously he was doing the business. He stagnated and he's potentially one that needs to go out the door. Some would say that around Kai Havertz, especially with Gyökeres coming in. Odegaard as well, potentially. So naturally, we need to get a leash on that. And I'm not trying to scare anyone or whatnot, but logically, if you're William Saliba and you're Bukayo Saka, and forget thinking about your career and you can go play for this other team and that other team. Not that you're watching what your teammates are getting paid, but your agents are. If they're saying, hang on, Saka's probably going to sell more shirts than a Kai Havertz or a Gabriel Jesus. I'm playing a lot more. I want everyone to be fit, of course, and I wish we lived in an imaginary world where all of these guys were amazing. But who's more important to the team? And if I know it's football, but if people looked at this from a working environment, there's issues, and obviously it's a bit of a double-edged sword, Dan, when I look at Berta, because he's come in, he's going to have to clear ranks and do all of that kind of stuff. But as you mentioned, he's having to give new contracts. I don't know how much Magalhaes is earning, but I'd imagine it's something healthy, which is well-deserved. Lewis Skelly and Nwaneri, they're not probably breaking our wage bill, but there's an uptake in that. And then obviously you're still paying the several players you said. You brought Gyökeres in. We're hoping for Eze's and Rodrygo's and Leao's and this one and that one. So it's a peculiar situation, but that's where I think, why I asked you earlier about the PSR thing, I don't think we're under any immediate PSR concerns. Everybody knows we're all on this self-financing thing and stuff. I think any restrictions around incomings or watching the wages, that's purely because of what we want to do. Now, when I look at it from a business point of view, of course, that makes sense. When I bring football into it, which fundamentally, that's all me, you, and everyone in the chat cares about, that's where you're looking at it. So then it leads me to ask you, are you surprised that nobody's left? Because obviously Nelson and Zinchenko, they're linked with moves away. It seems like they might be two to go through the door. They ain't gone anywhere at this moment in time. Zinchenko, obviously, I want him to go, but I am starting to feel if we don't buy a left back, I wouldn't mind him staying. Lokonga's not got a sniff of any level of football on the tour. Fabio Vieira obviously played in the Club World Cup, linked with West Ham, but not really gone anywhere. Kivio links, not that I want him to go a dead, but are you surprised that there's not been any outgoings at all at this moment?
The reason I'm not surprised is because I don't rate any of the players. I've got to be honest with you. Maybe Reece Nelson is one of the only ones I think could be good business for a club. He's still young. He's got a lot of quality. I think he's looked sharp. I think he's versatile, can play on both wings. And I think that maybe a Palace or a Fulham or a West Ham or maybe even one of the clubs like Leeds or Sunderland would be really interested in taking somebody like Reece. And I think it would be an excellent signing for them. I don't think he's going to get us a lot of money. I think if I'm honest with you, I'll be very, very unbelievably surprised if we get anywhere near to 15 to 20 million for Reece Nelson, because he's hardly kicked a ball for us. And when he has kicked a ball for Fulham, he got injured. So I don't think you can expect someone to come in and lump 30 million on Reece Nelson. At the same time, the way the market's going, you'd like to think we could get at least 15 million for him and maybe throw some add-ons on there and think that's a fair signing. We've got to get better at player sales. I look at the scenario of our players that we've sold for money, and there's only really been recent times that we've got anywhere over 30 million for them. Aaron Ramsdale and Smith Rose and Nketiahs and Baloguns and Joe Willocks. Oxlade-Chamberlain's the only one a few years ago. We got up over 30 million. Iwobi. And then we have to go back to 99 to Anelkas and Overmars and guys like this. So it's been poor, man. It really has. I saw a stat that only Burnley, Sunderland and Brentford are the only three teams that have sold players for less money than Oxlade-Chamberlain at Arsenal. Everybody else in the Premier League has sold somebody for more than what Oxlade-Chamberlain was. So that means Arsenal are down with Burnley and Leeds and who did I say? Brentford, when it comes to that. And obviously Sunderland, who have just been promoted now. They're the only teams. And it might even be that Leeds got more for Rio. It might even just be Burnley, Brentford and Sunderland, actually, when you look at it. So I look at the scenario and think that's terrible. Arsenal are an elite club, the third biggest club in England on trophies, and the third worst when it comes to player sales. How is that the case? I'm not saying we should go now and sell Saliba for 100 million and go, way. I'm not saying that at all, right? But I think with some of the player sales that Chelsea and Liverpool have done, I think how can they get 32 million for Ryan Brewster and we get the same for Oxlade-Chamberlain?
They made a profit on Felix and Madueke as well.
Making Chelsea are the best at it. I've got to be honest. I hate them, but they're unbelievably good at it.
How can they
sell that Humphreys brother who's hardly kicked a ball to Burnley for 15 mil?
And they're selling to themselves with that Strasbourg thing. I'm not saying it's right, but I do look at our club and think, do we have to do this kind of stuff?
It's clever. It's clever how they're doing it. And also Liverpool, like Jordan Ibe, Ryan Brewster, players like you look at and think, how have they got that much money for him?
They're making money on sales themselves, Liverpool, really, as well, for all the talk about Isaac and this one and that one. Yeah. And Liverpool's structure is probably more akin to ours in terms of how the owners operate. I think there's a lot we can learn from them in terms of just scouting and things of that ilk. Why are we bad at sales? Because obviously it was a different time, but we knew what Arsenal used to do. We'd get Adebayo, all of these guys for pennies, sell them for pounds. Fair enough, we're paying off the stadium, but the premise is still there. We're making a lot of money. Since we've become more financially prudent and things like that, Why do you feel like we've not been good at sales, and how do we change that? Because even though I don't necessarily think this might be the case with some of the names we've said, I can't sit here and lie to you and say maybe if Zinchenko, Nelson, Fabio Vieira, this one, that one, I'm not saying they would have been sold for 100 million, but some other clubs might have flogged them off already, or we might be looking at them like, how did they get X amount for that? Which we've seen with Liverpool, because like Liverpool are about to make, I would say, anything from 35 to 50 million if they pull the trigger, and even selling a Harvey Elliott. Like, why aren't we good at sales, and how do we get better at that? Like,
the reason we've not been good is it's been poor decision making. Some of it has been poor recruitment and poor lack of clear financial understanding, I should say. I don't want to blame Arsene Wenger and Arteta for everything, but I don't think that they have really been two managers that want to be selling players for lots of money, to bring lots of money back into the club. I think they're more interested in the players that they're buying as opposed to the players they're selling, from what you can see. And the only reason I say that is because there's evidence that they don't care how much they're getting for some of these players. How can Emi Martinez go for 17 million and be like one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League? How can Leno go for 3 million to Fulham? How can, Matteo Guendouzi and Bellerin be offered 50 million by PSG and Barcelona links, and then end up going for about, pittance? Let's be real. So I think, as much as I appreciate some of the sales, and I've gone through ones that have given us a lot of money, and of late it's got better, I think there's been some really bad decision making, and I think there's been some poor understanding of how the system must work, because you can go to Arsenal on evidence on paper, and you can look at stats if you want to and figures and think, I'm going to go and buy some players off Arsenal because they don't ask for much. In 2011, Gareth Bale and Cristiano Ronaldo and all of these guys that were being linked were going for like 80 million and 90 million and all this kind of stuff.
Inflation is mad now.
Inflation. And then Fabregas, literally a year before, went for 29 million. Explain how that's good. And I'm not saying that Fabregas is on the same level as Bale or Ronaldo, but there wasn't a 60 million difference between Cesc Fabregas and Ronaldo or Bale. Like, they were clearly better than Fabregas. But at the time, Fabregas was one of the best central midfielders in the world. And we sold him for 29 million to Barcelona. That is poor. We sold Overmars for similar, 4 million less in 1999, bruv. So how can you go nearly 10 years and say that Overmars was £4 million less than Fabregas? Now, Overmars was class, don't get me wrong. But Cesc Fabregas at the time was seen as one of the best central midfielders in the game. And Facts. We sold him for £4 million more 10 years later to the same club. That is crazy money. Like, we should have got much more money for Cesc. We should have got much more money for a lot of players that we've sold, to be fair. But I looked at Thierry Henry even. Thierry Henry was the best striker in the world. And people were like, well, he's 28, 29. We can't get much more than 30 million for him.
We accepted less the year after, because remember, he was meant to go the year before as well.
Precisely. Robin Van Persie, another example. £29 million for a 30-year-old striker that's guaranteed to score you 30 goals a year if fit. Oh, we sold him to United. Then what did they do when they won the league? So I think we need to look at that and get better at it. And I think that Andrea Berta is the guy that we have to look at and say, please help us, because we haven't been getting it right in the last 2 decades. Well, longer than that, 3 decades.
And even that, for me, it's like, maybe not so much Liverpool, because as I said, I think Liverpool are kind of close in how they operate to us. But where I look at Chelsea, bottomless pits of money, City, bottomless pits of money, not saying definitely City haven't been reckless. I know they've had a poor season, but if spending money was everything, everybody would win the league apart from them. It's about being competent, right? But for me, I think for me anyways, again, this is probably above my pay grade, but if we're really on self-financing and not necessarily spending mad cash, then maybe if we could get more money through our academies system, whether that's getting players in for cheap, selling them for more, the Nelsons and stuff, that when it becomes clear that you can have good careers, you might not make it, maybe tailoring certain moves that we get decent money. Because if you get 10s and 20s and 30 millions for a couple of these players, maybe that could be reinvested, so that when you find yourself maybe wanting to sit at the table for the finances of Rodrygo and this one and that one, we could be a bit more, quote unquote, not reckless, but a bit more reckless in that regard. And even that, because the Cronkies, from a business point of view, this club is amazing for them, essentially. So it would probably make more sense. There was a question, it's gone, yeah, but it's kind of on task. Like, do you think we've improved our depth? Because I do think, on one hand, by default, until Trossard or Martinelli leave, Madueke's there, and we hope Eze, up front, we do have another body. But then I do feel there's an element of one in and one out, like, kind of thing. And I think that was kind of there last season. And what I mean by that is, obviously, Norgard and Zubimendi have come in, Partey and Jorginho have gone. it feels like Tomiyasu and Mosquera. Obviously, Mosquera is going to be about a bit more, but it does feel like one in, one out. So, like, has the depth improved at this moment?
It's hard to answer that question factually because
It?
we'll be able to know in sort of October, November time whether we have. Maybe it will get to the new year in 2026 for us to realise whether we've improved as a squad or not, right? But I look on paper and I look at the signings that have come in, and I don't go into too much depth of them because I'm sure we'll talk about them a little bit more. But I look at Kepa and I don't think there's much difference, but I think he's probably no worse than Neto, if not a little bit better, right? I look at Mosquera and I like Tomiyasu. But for his availability, Mosquera is clearly no downgrade on Tomiyasu. Because from what I see
him a lot more.
I actually quite liked him when he came on, right? So I look at Mosquera, I think, do you know what, that could be a potential replacement for Tomiyasu that's no worse because he's going to be fitter than Tomiyasu. Norgard's, I don't think is an upgrade on Jorginho. If I'm honest with you, I would say that's probably one that I would agree is probably not an upgrade. And I don't think that Zubamendi is an upgrade on Partey, but I don't think he's going to be a shambolic signing. Like, oh my God, what have we got here in comparison to Thomas Partey? I think he's going to be a good player for us, right? So I think those two, there's kind of no worse, but definitely no better than in midfield. Madueke is better than Sterling and Nelson. I've got to be honest with you. So that is an upgrade, although be it an expensive one. And we all know that Victor Gyökeres is an upgrade on Kai Havertz and Jesus put together, right? So I would say that in some positions we definitely are stronger. But we need two more players coming in, and it needs to be a left winger and attacking midfielder. And I'm sure we'll touch on that. We've been linked with Eze, and there's obviously the Rafael Leao and Rodrygo talk. I would love
Morgan Rogers now, which I don't care to believe.
I'd love, bruv.
But he'd be amazing, absolutely amazing.
Bruv, if we can't get Rodrygo or Leao or one of these big names, I'd take Eze and Rodgers tomorrow. I think that'd be an unbelievable couple of signings. And you know, from what I'm being told, we've got money, so with player sales on top of that, I imagine we've got even more. So I think those two signings would be unbelievable, both homegrown players as well. And yeah, I feel like there has been upgrades in certain positions. I think a lot of you can look at it two ways, right? And we don't know until the ball starts being played. But what I will say is this: you could look at it in two ways and go, Kepa is an absolutely shambolic keeper, just like Neto was. You could look and say, Mosquera is a young kid who's not proven. I'd rather have Tomiyasu because when he's fit, he's quality. I look at Norgard and think he's got no legs. What was the point? We might as well have just kept Jorginho. And Thomas Partey is better than Zubamendi. Madueke is no better than Sterling or Nelson because he's only going to play. And Gyökeres is the only one that improves us. You could look at it like that if you want. And I don't think you'd be miles off what you're saying. But I would say it's a very pessimistic outlook before anyone's kicked any balls, right?
Yeah.
So you can also do the same, and you can go, Kepa, unbelievable business. What a goalkeeper. 75 million not long ago. We got him for 5. Look at Mosquera, one of the most up-and-coming players in the league. We've got him for cheap. He's better than everything we've got in backup. You can also look at Norgard and say, what a captain, what a Premier League proven player. Cheap money, excellent business. Zubamendi, the wanted player that everyone had in their books on DM in Europe. Then you look at Madueke, a player that's come in who's very versatile, can cut inside, a one-on-one demon. He looks like an excellent bit of business. We're linked with Eze and Rodrygo, and we've got Gyökeres, the top goal scorer in Europe. Two different ways of looking at it, but there's a set of fans over here saying we ain't done nothing, and a set of fans that going, wow, it's a 9 out of 10 window.
Where the shoot's in the middle.
Someone's wrong. Do you know what I'm saying? Somebody's wrong. So we're going to have to wait and find out in February, March time who's right and who's wrong, because I don't think you can look at it now. And, you know, Kenny Ken, big him up, says it right. Wait until April, May to give it a rating out of 10. Don't say now, oh, it's a 9 out of 10 window. And you get to May and you won nothing and think, wasn't it a 9 out of 10 window? So he's right, man. You can only look at what you've got in front of you now. I think until it starts playing ball, we're not going to have a clue about whether it's great or not. So.
I mean, I can't bring it towards 9s and 10s unless I see, like, I go wow about some sales. Like when I heard the Gabriel Jesus links, I thought, well, the guy's injured. Who's going to buy him? And obviously he ain't gone nowhere, but that's when I'm like, okay, but I see what you're doing. Obviously, kind of piggybanking off what you said. I think everyone's at that point. We hope Berta can surprise us. If he could get, I don't know, 30 million for Fabio Vieira or something decent for Reece Nelson, we'll be like mad. But we just want to clear wages potentially. I'm in the middle because on one hand, I can't, and the club, I don't want to give the club credit necessarily because I do think you know, in previous windows, you might have known you've needed a left winger and a striker. You might have got away with either, but because of where we're at now, you need to address everything in it. I think we've addressed certain areas. I still want the Ezes and this one and that one, as you kind of said, but we've addressed areas. It feels like it's finally the window where we're going for everything that's required. Whether I believe in the depth or the ability, or some players that I'm bullish on fail to deliver, or some players I weren't rating do amazing. It is what it is, which kind of goes back to what you said about Kenny saying, you know, wait until next year, essentially. For me, though, I still don't know for depth. I still would like a left back, and I'm going to double down on that. I actually think we've only got, at this moment in time, 2 game changers. Like, I actually, listen, I liked Partey when he was here. I think Zubimendi's better than him, and I've felt that for a while. You know, I think they're very different. I think Gyökeres, big him up, but by default, it's not exactly harder to be better than what we've got. But they're the only 2 game changers. I want to give Madueke a chance. Obviously, you don't want to pile on him and whatnot, but under the guise of trying to get over the line versus Liverpool and, you know, historically City, you kind of need to have answers for these questions. I don't know about Madueke, if he's going to, you know, realize that potential. I don't know if he's going to be seen as a right winger or off the left. Admittedly, the left wing is frustrating me during preseason, bro. I don't mind seeing Madueke there at this moment in time. I'm even, Dan, I must admit, I've been drinking the preseason Kool-Aid. I know Nelson needs to go. He definitely needs to be sold. But I was looking at him in preseason, like, you look a bit better than the options we've got. Maybe I just haven't seen you for a while. I might be on operating with you on the left-hand side, but we do need a bit more. Whether we're going to be able to do that is another thing. Before I ask you about Spurs, yeah, what have you made of us in pre-season? Because again, kind of what you said about, you know, people being on this side and that side. For me, I think, you know, I speak for people that can comprehend it is just preseason. You do need to experiment. You can't get too excited and, you know, up in arms about a lot of stuff. But at the same time, for me, it's about building blocks. I want to see little things. I'm sure if I ask Mikel Arteta, etc., they'll tell me they've worked on stuff and seen it in the game. But to me as a fan, I can't see anything different down the left necessarily. I don't really see anything different in terms of the way we're playing. If anything, I'd say our pressing looked a bit better, and set pieces, like we're all outside the area against Spurs. But what have you generally made of us in pre-season? Well, basically on this Asia tour.
Yeah, I'll talk about each department of the team, and I'll talk about the manager and the style, because I think the goalkeeper has been an issue in pre-season, if I'm honest with you. And I like Raya.
Raya's been drunk.
A lot of time for Raya, but I've not been a fan of what he's been doing positionally. Caught out, you saw yesterday, lobbed, shouldn't be anywhere near that. Keep in your goal, man. Stay in your goal. Be better from crosses. You haven't been as commanding. You haven't looked as comfortable. Your distribution's not been quite up to scratch. And this is the time to muck it up in pre-season, but let's put it right in time for Old Trafford, because I need to see his positioning better. I understand that the manager wants him to be a centre-back option and to be a midfield option at times, but I cannot be dealing with that. I'm old school. I want my goalkeeper to be in goal, funnily enough. So I need to see that improve. I think Kepa's come in and actually proven to be an okay backup in the last couple of games that he has been. Doesn't mean he's going to be a wicked signing by any means, but I think the penalty saves proved that he's got that to his game. And also, I think that when he did come on, he was fine. In defence, I've been a massive fan of what Saliba's brought to the side in the last couple of games. I think he's clearly been one of our better players in pre-season. And I think Ben White's shown what he can do with Timber out. I think Timber back in training is a good thing, but I think Ben White's reminded everybody what he can do and why he's a top player. I definitely think he's a better overlapper than Timber, and I think Timber better defensively. Ben White has got a little bit of shithousery to his game, but I think he overlaps and gives us more of a threat down that right-hand side at times, attacking-wise, than Timber does with his overlapping of Saka. So Ben White's impressed me. And I've got to say, I've been very interested to the left-sided centre-back position of Mikel Arteta. He started with Ricardo Calafiori, which really surprised me because Kivior ended the season very well. There was a lot.
I'm nervous about that, Dan, going into the season. I must admit. I know Arteta was speaking about Magalhaes and it'd be all right, but I'm quite nervous about our defensive options. Obviously, Calafiori got injured. Magalhaes hasn't really played. We hope in these 2 games in London he plays. Timber is nursing stuff. I'm very nervous, man, and I'm nervous about what we look like at the start of the season because, sorry to cut you as well, Dan, it's because Gyökeres is obviously, I know everyone's going to do, the rivals are going to do that, 15 minutes, he didn't score 1 million goals, he's rubbish. He ain't had a preseason. It's 15 minutes into a 5-year deal. I'm not really vexed with that, right? But he's kind of at a deficit health-wise. So I don't know if you're going to start. Madueke's not been involved. Mascara, I didn't expect you to start, admittedly. But I'm just keen to see what happens against United, if I'm honest with you, because obviously we've been talking and we are about like the tactics and whatnot, and then you've got there's no new signings. I'm a big fan of if nothing changes, nothing changes, but I am very worried about Magalhaes because our defense is the one place where it's like, all right, cool, we're all right there, Dan, man. But you're right.
Yeah, look, Gabriel played 45 minutes against Watford behind closed doors and he hasn't kicked a ball since. That's worrying for me. That means there's been a setback, which I think is quite obvious when you have a long-term injury at times that can happen and fairly common. But I am worried about that and what that might mean for him and how ready he might be for Old Trafford. My question mark is who plays if Gabriel is out? Is it Calafiori or is it Kivior? Now, I play Kivior because I think he's been good in pre-season when he's played. And I also believe he had the better out of the two at the back end of the season. And I think he proved himself against PSG and Real Madrid and other Premier League teams that he can play there. What's been interesting is Calafiori's been getting the nod ahead of him when he has been fit. Now, Calafiori's got a Tomiyasu problem at the moment where he can't stay fit for more than 2 or 3 games, which is a big concern and question mark for me, right? However, I think Kiwior has proven that he can come in at that position. I don't think we need any more left-sided centre-backs, but I will say that Mosquera has actually come in and played both. Played right centre-back yesterday, but played along the left side a lot for Spain under-21s and Valencia. So he's
would have ruled out him playing left-back as well at some point then.
Yeah, and you know what? I like him. I like what I see. I like what I hear. I like glimpses that I've seen. I like some of the compilations and the reels that I've seen of his passing, his physical attributes, his pace, his ability on the ball, his comfortableness and calmness, composure on the ball. I like what I see from Mosquera at very early days. There's a long way to go before you convince me, but I've seen little glimpses that I like, and I have faith in this one because Andrea Berta has spotted it, and he's great at doing that. So I think that could be a good thing. The left-back scenario is a really interesting one because I still don't know that we are comfortable there, and it seems like we've had 15 or 16 left-backs in the last.
I don't think we are, I'll be real.
I love Lewis Skelly. I love him. I think he's unbelievably good for a player, but I still believe that his natural ability to want to drive into midfield is because he is a midfielder. And I think he is a box-to-box, energetic, athletic midfielder. But at left-back, he's clearly done a job there. Calafiori, I'm not too keen on what I've seen from Calafiori, if I'm honest with you.
And he's not fit. That's where I'm scared then, because you're not fit. And it's at least 50, 60 games if we go the way. I can't just rely on Miles Lewis Skelly and having to move Timber over there. I'm nervous, man.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. I like Lewis Skelly. I just don't know whether left back is his future position. I do think he's done great there. And I think that if he does play for club and country there, I hope he does brilliantly well. I do think he gets caught out, if I'm honest with you.
You've got a lot to work on for a young man.
Yeah, I mean, Kudus has sent him into nightmares in 2 games now for West Ham and Tottenham. He got him sent off in the West Ham game at the Emirates, and he also had a situation against Tottenham yesterday where I thought he struggled, if I'm honest with you, against Kudus, who I thought was one of their best players. So Lewis Skelly's got great attributes, but he can get caught out, as he did for the goal, which was a suicidal pass, by the way, from Raya. But also he's got a lot of strength and ability on the ball as well. But Calafiori, for me, I'm still not sure that he's a left back either. I think that he's everything I see.
Job there, but he's probably sent off.
Well, everything I see with Calafiori is good going forward. Like even the other day against AC Milan, and Newcastle, he's crossing the ball from the left wing position. Like, what are you doing up there, man? You're supposed to be playing centre back. Like the guy is like a headless chicken with his positioning. It worries the hell out of me. It's like it
worries me, but it excites me. I don't know why. If we could just curb that in him, like there's something there. But he needs to curb it, and he needs to stay fit to be able to do that.
It's like he's got the ADHD of football, isn't it? It's like, just calm down, bro. Like, you don't need
to be Italian bull in the China shop.
Yeah, like I need to see more composure from him, like more like calmness from him. I see a little bit rash stuff. And I think, oh Christ, he's up on the right wing now. What's he doing up there? Who's supposed to be at the right? I can't. That gives me anxiety, bro. And I can't be hypocritical and say, Zinchenko, what you're doing positionally, and go, oh, I quite like this guy because he's got nice hair. He looks like a horse when he runs. Like, I'm not into that, man. I want to be consistent. So for me, I do think he's better than Zinchenko. Don't get me wrong, but defensively. But I'm looking at his like kind of like his positioning. It scares me. So left back's the problem. Midfield has been an issue, if I'm honest, for quite some time. And I felt yesterday the balance was all wrong again. I really like the look of Zubamendi. I really like the look of him. I think
the difference when he came on.
Yeah, I think he always wants the ball, and I think his ability on the ball is good. His passing looks good. I think the way that he starts our attacks is good. In transition, he's good. And I think that's where he's got an upgrade on Partey in that respect.
But the physicality remains to be seen.
The physicality, it could be an issue, but I haven't looked at it yet and thought, wow, it's like Fabio Vieira on the ball. Like, I don't think he's got that bad. So
he'll be all right. He'll be all right. No, it's not a Fabio Vieira thing.
I think he'll be all right. So Norgard, good off the ball, not so great on the ball. From what
do you think he's still starstruck, Norgard? Because I have felt that. Like, I'm not expecting, like you said earlier, like, I don't think you're better than Jorginho. Like, I think Jorginho's a better footballer, but I expect you to be utilized a lot more than Jorginho, maybe to rest as Zubamendi or Arise. But I do think Norgard, I don't think he's been terrible. I do think there's qualities there. I wouldn't have bought him. I'm not going to make out it was amazing, but I must admit, I have felt he's a bit starstruck at times, because every time I've seen him play, he takes a while. Like, it's like he's playing it safe, and then he starts to gamble a bit more. And I might give him that luxury, because Arsenal's one of them clubs, isn't it? Like everybody knows it's a big club, as you said, third biggest in England. Everyone can see it, but I think it's like when you're there and you're in Asia and the fans are going crazy and 50,000 people. I think it's not that it's a bit much, but it's a bit much. And then you throw in that whether we like it or not, it's a very complicated system that we play. So it's like, do you think he's a bit starstruck in that regards?
I feel like it was a move he didn't expect and just said yes to straight away. But if you're starstruck at 31, you should be having ambition for that kind of move. You shouldn't be like, oh my God, give me a few months because I can't believe that I've got this position. Like that should be what you want. That should be every man's dream to play football at one of the best clubs, and which is what I still believe we are. So I think that he needs to settle himself in if he's feeling like that. I actually am quite impressed with what I've seen from Norgard of late. I think he's going to end up being a very good signing that's going to give us cover. I've not been too impressed with him on the ball, but I certainly believe with his physical presence, some of his attributes, his interceptions and off the ball stuff has been good. So that's what I'll say about Norgard. I've got problems with Declan Rice in this position, bruv. I can't lie to you. I've said it for a very long time. I think he had a poor game yesterday. I thought he was awful yesterday, if I'm honest, and he's one of my favourite players. I just find it very frustrating.
Pick him up.
Yeah, man. He's got all the attributes in the world to be anything he wants in midfield. He's got an engine. He's got a beastly set of physical attributes. His interceptions and his destroyer attributes are superb. But we're trying to stone him into Steven Gerrard and Cesc Fabregas, and I don't like
how much blood can you draw from that stone? Even though statistically he's done all right there, but he's never going to be fully that.
Yeah, like him and Zubimendi for me. If we played 4-2-3-1, I'd be more okay with it. Playing, brought in an Eze, maybe him and Ødegaard in the 10 role, Ethan maybe as well into that mix. And play Rice and Zubimendi in kind of a double pivot, because I can't see Rice, because Rice can still run in a double pivot. It doesn't have to sit there at the halfway line. He can still use his engine up and down. I look at him in the attacking third. I'm not sure I like it, if I'm honest. I don't see him as a Frank Lampard or a Steven Gerrard. I just never have. West Ham are like, what are you doing with him? Why are you spending 105 million on him and you're using him there? That's gonna,
because Arteta wants to win the ball high up the field, so that's right.
Exactly. And if he wants to do that, then he's got to make it work, and he's got to do more like by Rice putting in 2 free kicks against Real Madrid. That doesn't mean all of a sudden he can play there. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's be real. Like, he's a top player and I love him, but he's put in two free kicks, the best 2 free kicks I've ever seen. And I see it right. He can play up front now. No, he can't. Like he can't. He can run into the box late, and he can got a hell of a shot on him. But I want him outside the box. I want him outside the box, protection and doing all the attributes he's grown up doing as a centre back and a holding midfielder. We're trying to now put him. We wouldn't be signing. You wouldn't be looking at Mark Gahey and going, do you know what? I'm going to put this guy in the number 8 role. Like, you wouldn't be doing that, would you? Because everything he's done has been a centre half. We're trying to do that with Rice. Like, I don't get that. I don't think it's worked so far. A lot of people, rivals, are laughing at us in our midfield. I think we need to look at that. And I think a double pivot of him and Zubimendi would be good. And it might allow for a player like Eze to come in and try and help us in a low block with that. So that's kind of where I'm at. And then, of course, we look at the attack, DG, and I've got to say it's been embarrassing again. It has.
Stale, man. Predictable. Pedestrian pace.
Slow, boring. Saka's our only threat. Nothing else is happening. Martinelli.
Same as last season, really. That's why I wanted to see. So I'm not expecting it to dramatically change, but I wanted to see something different, because I genuinely think you could throw a blanket on our players in the attacking sense. There's not that healthy randomness that we need, man.
No, there's not. I don't know if Martinelli's turned up for pre-season and maybe he stayed on the plane, because I ain't seen that brother at all. He's been poor. Trossard, likewise, I think is a good player to have as a squad player. I just don't get it. And I don't know if he's going to be sort of, and when I say I don't get it, I don't know if he's staying or going, is what I mean. Saka, I love him. And I think that he was our best player against Newcastle and AC Milan. I thought he had a poor game yesterday. Got to be honest. I don't think he was
poor day at the office for a lot of people, man.
It was, man. It was the whole of our attack. You can't look at Saka and go, he doesn't quite look ready. He does look fine. He's still, getting himself into fitness like everybody is in pre-season. However, he's still our biggest threat. He's still the one that when you go down that right, you think something's going to happen when he cuts inside and delivers or shoots. And then
we felt like we're going to score when Dalman's been there, if I'm honest, and he's 15.
Well, we'll come on to him, man, because he deserves a mention, bruv. But Kai Havertz, for me, I've seen enough, man. I can't deal with this guy no more, man. It's
not fair to him. It's not fair to us. To him still persisting with. I know, obviously, Gyökeres ain't fit, but if we keep doing the same things and the same thing happens, at what point are we really just gonna just accept that we need to try something differently? And that's where I'm happy with the Gyökeres thing, man. Because if I show you this year, obviously it's just pre-season, but this is where I think the frustrations were with fans. And I think I do think I don't think you can downplay preseason. I wouldn't say the results important, but the performance. But I don't agree with it, but I understand the frustrations. Like we both know, and everyone in the chat knows, social media is very, let's call it special. Right, but I'm seeing Saka get pelters. I'm seeing Odegaard get pelters. I'm seeing Gyökeres. Even some of our own fans are onto Gyökeres. I don't know what they expected him to do in 15 minutes, but just off the basis that obviously, and we never want to lose to Spurs, we had 16 shots, 13 corners, 55.7% of the ball, but only one shot on target. And I'm not expecting it to change, but I haven't seen anything that deviates away from the script. I know our manager came out and said he's pleased with most of the things we've done, etc. But to me, as a naive fan that's not on the training ground, it just feels like the same old, same old. And admittedly, I have said it's not that I'm not going to comment on it or be happy or sad or whatnot. But if we get to the 10, 11, 12 game mark and I can't see any different ways, that's when the alarm bells start kicking really for me, Dan. But yeah, and it frustrates me a bit that Arteta said that he's seen good things, but it is what it is. Like, can I ask you as well? Like, obviously, you know, people can say what they want about Havertz. People can say what they want about Martinelli. People can be happy about Gyökeres. People can say what they want about all of our attackers. But I genuinely don't feel all of them are bad players. I don't feel any of them are terrible. I think some might not be good enough. I think if they went elsewhere, they might do other things. But I don't feel any of them are playing to their full potential. Equally, I don't think it's as white and black as you put Gyökeres, you got Rodrygo, you got, I don't know, Lionel Messi in the 10, and we're just clicking in the attacking sense. Like, it feels like something has to change there. Like I don't know what it is, but it feels like maybe the handbrake's got to go down in the final third because it's not unpredictable. Like that's what we need now, surely.
We all know what the issue is. We're looking at him right now. That's the issue. Let's just say it how it is. Not saying that he needs to go now and he's rocking. Before people start coming for me in the chat, he's the guy that can change it. He's the guy that can improve it. Because you're right, these players aren't bad. I don't think they're good enough to win the league as they are. I think they need, Gyökeres needed to come in. I think Eze and maybe another left winger needs to come in.
Facts.
But you can certainly get the best out of these players. Martinelli is not a bad player. Yeah. Saka is an unbelievable winger. Up top, we've got Kai Havertz, who easily could score goals. Marino scored goals. Odegaard is apparently a creative magician. Why aren't they creating? Why aren't they scoring? I think it's this guy. I think the possession-based football is so boring. It is sideways and backwards. Get it to Saka and whip a ball in, and hopefully one of you will get your bonds on it because everyone's 6'4". I don't get how that is going to win you the league. So this guy, now that we've brought in Gyökeres and Odegaard needs to be released and Zubamendi's going to give Odegaard space and Rice is going to be winning the ball back high up the pitch and Saka's got the delivery and the assist and the goals, and you're going to bring in hopefully another left winger and Eze to come in and help with low blocks. Tell me why you can't go and get this team scoring, because he has got to improve things now. He cannot continue to play like this. The style has to change. We have to be more free-flowing. We have to be quicker on counter. We have to be a hell of a lot more attack-minded. And we need to go into games believing that set pieces are a part of our game, not the only part of our game. And if we can do that...
like everything else you mentioned, it's a part, it's not our game. Facts, then.
Yeah. At 22-23, we saw a brilliant side. And it weren't far off the players we have now, personnel. Yeah. We didn't, if you look at it, yeah, Partey and Xhaka are no longer here, but we brought in Zubamendi and Rice. That's replaced Xhaka and Partey. And you look at Jesus, who's now been replaced with Gyökeres. Everything else is the same right now in our attack. Saka, Odegaard, Martinelli. So I don't know why people believe it's these players. They ain't good enough. That's not true, because the players that have been brought in have done it before and were brought in by the manager you're saying is good enough. So either the manager isn't very good at buying players or the manager isn't very good at getting the best out of them. Which one is it? So I've got a lot of pressure for Mikel Arteta this season, man. I don't think people appreciate how hard this is going to be, because I tell you this now, and people won't want to hear it. Oh, he's negative, he's toxic. We play like we did yesterday. In the first 6 games, he has lost his job. It's simple as that. It is that simple. We play like we did yesterday with that possession-based 2 shots on target against Liverpool at Anfield, Newcastle at St James's Park, even Old Trafford at United, Manchester City at home. We aren't winning any of those games, and we are 12th in the table or something like that. And he has to then go and somehow find 90 points when in the first 6 he's picked up 4 or 5.
Do you really think he gets sacked in his first 6?
No. He won't get sacked then in his first 6. What I mean by that is he will lose his job come May because that 6 is massively important.
I get where you're going. Important. That's where you look back in hindsight.
So you'll look back and go, those first 6 games, what the hell was he doing there? That's where he lost the league. So he won't get sacked then, DG. No, I didn't mean that. I mean, he will lose his job come May because he is. He's going to get to the end of the season, in my opinion. And I still think he'll stay whatever, if I'm honest with you, because I don't think the Cronkies will sack him. However, if he doesn't win
million a year, they're not paying him that.
Yeah. If he doesn't win the Premier League or the Champions League and at least get a trophy across the line, whether it's the domestic trophy or not, and get into a title race at bare minimum, he should be removed from his position. Because at 6 years at £1 billion spent, which it will be by the time we get there, you have to win a trophy. And some are saying a Carabao Cup's not enough. An FA Cup's not enough. For me, I'd take it because I love those trophies. However, I can appreciate they're not the ones that
you'd save face, but it's not enough.
Exactly that. You won't look at it and go, do you know what? This 6 weeks has been painful, but that Carabao Cup, all is forgiven. No, it will help and it will give us winning mentality and it's still that belief. But we have to go and do something serious this season. And I think he knows that. But playing the way that we did yesterday and him to come out and say we're happy with it, that's worrying for me, bruv.
It must be the only way I can rationalize that is, you're going to say one thing publicly and then the next thing privately. And the jarring thing is, he's never been an exciting attacking manager necessarily, but he's shown elements that the man can coach. You made us great defensively. You mentioned 2022-23 season, blisteringly good football. Whatever people have to say at some point in their lives at Arsenal, Saka, Odegaard, Smith-Rowe when he was here, Martinelli, they've all had standout seasons. As much as none of us can really understand why Rice plays as an 8, you can kind of see certain positives in that regards. So there's elements of it. I don't know if he's still burnt by the 2022-23 season, because through being burnt through that, you've probably burned yourself now with maybe being a bit over defensive. Maybe he's too centric about, and it's hypocritical because managers do have to overthink and think about the opposition, but maybe there's too much thinking about the opposition and not what we can do, especially like what I said with Rice. Like, you clearly want Rice in at 8 because when we lose the ball, we want to win it back as much as possible. So are we potentially going into games kind of overthinking about what the opponents are doing and not thinking about what we can do? I don't know what it is, but our attack is, goals win games. And arguably, 1, we're Arsenal. 2, goals shouldn't be an issue. 3, even when you look at Gyökeres, obviously Gyökeres has to adapt. He has healthy question marks of his own. But I look at the fact that you scored bare goals in the Championship, the same in Portugal. If you rock up here and don't score goals, you have to hold yourself accountable, Gyökeres. But I'm looking at the manager because I don't think it's as white and black as you just put great attackers and we're good. I do believe that defensively, even though I like our options, I like it. I see enough with my defenders to say, okay, random Joe Blogs in theory, that's better than Timber and Ben White. I can see how that would work. Or someone that's better than Miles Lewis-Skelly or Gabriel Magalhaes and Saliba or David Raya. I'm kind of comfortable there. I just still think there's issues really, and you're right. Like we do need to find other solutions. We need to evolve. We need to have. We just need to be more difficult to play against. Everyone knows deep blocks, low blocks were in issues. The only saving grace is pre-season's just started, people. So I mean, you've kind of answered that really. Like it's a bit of both for you, whether it's the personnel or the system. Arteta needs to evolve. There was something else. Like, how do you feel about the status of the injuries? Because Trossard's picked up a little tweak. I know his future is subject to speculation. Arteta did say that Calafiori, Timber, and Magalhaes are expected to be fit, but I did say off my own bat a few months ago that any issues defensively, I think we are self-inflicted because I do think we need to invest. And as I said earlier, I'm a bit nervous with Gabriel, if I'm honest. So it's like, how are you feeling about the state of injuries or the state of play for everyone going into the season? Because we're a couple of weeks away from it now. Like, it's a big season. And are we actually ready, Dan?
Yeah, it's a good question. Are Arsenal actually ready? I see the title of this pod and I thought, yeah, do you know what? It's a good question. I think some of the players look very ready. I've got to be honest. I think the manager is hungry. I think the players are hungry. I don't look at Saliba and doubt him. I don't look at the defense and think, what are we doing? I don't look at the midfield yet and think we're ready, but we're certainly not miles off it. Where we are miles off is the attack. I think everybody could see yesterday. I mean, every rival fan was like, well, at least Arsenal are miles off the title. Phew. That's not what I want rivals to be saying. I want rivals to be scared, going, Christ.
I want them to be gassing us.
Yeah, man.
Well, so we just do our job.
I'm hoping the 2 Emirates Cup games, they are saying that, and that Gyökeres and Zubimendi are slotting in, and that these 3 on the screen now are getting fitter. and people are saying, "Oh my god, like this is unbelievable." It is a worry for me that Jesus is still out, Gabriel's not fit, Timber's not fit, Calafiori and now Trossard. That's 5 players already. But I've got to be honest with you. I'm looking at the Arsenal in pre-season thinking we haven't actually shown what our best 11 is yet. So that's the one thing that we can kind of have in our kind of secret weapon.
We had a great season in 2022-23, and then obviously we didn't win the league, but you could see the little correlation, like hitting the ground running in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this guy here is massive for us, right? And we haven't seen him yet. We've seen him for 15 minutes, and there wasn't much that they give the ball to do. So I think he had a nice little touch, made himself a handful, and laid it off to Zubimendi, who had a shot. But other than that, we didn't see much from Victor Gyökeres because we didn't really be able to get him the ball. And that's an Ødegaard issue as well, by the way. Because other than Saka, who's been a threat, the only player that's actually had a wicked pre-season so far in the attack-minded areas is Max Dalman, who has been nothing short
Shout
of
out to him, but boy.
15 years old. He takes his GCSEs next year. This guy is unbelievable. It's a ridiculous talent, and it's one that we have to look after. And I hope that if he's good enough, he's old enough, but I hope that he's looked after properly. And, burnout's a big thing, of course, but at the same stage, he has been our best player this preseason. Like, nobody has come close to being as good as him. And that is a massive statement. So
for him and testament to him, but damning on all his teammates, really, if we're saying that about 15
very
year
much
old.
so, bruv. Very much so. Because Ethan had a really good first half against AC Milan. And other than that, we haven't seen much of him, unfortunately. You got Saka, who's been a threat, but I thought Dalman was better than him yesterday. Dalman's 100%. Been much better than Ødegaard in pre-season. There's not even a debate about who is better, Ødegaard or Dalman. Ødegaard had about 25 minutes against Newcastle where I thought potentially it looked like he was showing some glimpses of him being back and at his best. Dalman has been unbelievably good. People say, what has he done? Just go and look at the reel of what he's done in pre-season. It's been ridiculous. He hasn't scored 15 goals. Calm down, people. But he's actually taken it round players and looked like a threat. He's actually been
taking the game by the balls, just playing ball, just playing. That's why we love football, because of players like Dalman.
Mate, he's been pulling the strings. He's been putting through balls. Some of it ain't been working out. The confidence is there. I actually feel like he's got an intent to shoot and he's got an intent to drive. We've got him and Ethan coming through in similar positions. And I tell you what was really frustrating more than anything, actually, in pre-season so far is that none of those attacking players that are playing in the first team at the moment look too bothered. You wouldn't know that Ethan's coming through and that Max is coming through and being spoken about, that Eze is being linked, that Gyökeres is through the door, that we're looking at another left winger. Because Martinelli and Trossard are like, yeah, we just keep playing the way we are. I've got no pressure. And the same with Ødegaard and the same with Kai Havertz. I mean, Kai Havertz was nothing short of a shambles yesterday. It was embarrassing how bad he was. On the floor, rolling around.
The Romero nutmegged him, I thought, wow.
Giving the ball away, trying to win penalties, shooting and falling over. It was a calamity. It was a circus act. It was absolutely embarrassing from him. So I don't want to see much of him this season. I think we're going to, unfortunately, and I still think that signing is one that I think will be remembered as one of the worst decisions Mikel Arteta has ever made at Arsenal Football Club. And I need to see more of this guy on screen, man, because I'm a big fan of Gyökeres. I want him to do well.
Do you think he's starting?
I
think he is, but then there's the whole Kai stuff. Some fans are saying, I don't know.
I honestly, people call me dramatic. This might be dramatic. If Kai Havertz is starting at Old Trafford and Gyökeres is on the bench, I think Mikel Arteta needs to go and get some serious therapy. Real talk. Because you've bought
I think we need to go back to basics. Gyökeres, like, we've done all the smart stuff. I think just play your best striker, man. Like, a part 100%. Of me also feels, Dan, that maybe Arteta's he's got too much choice now. Like, because when he didn't have too much choice and he didn't overthink it, I felt a lot better. But he has to start. You're right. He has to. Fitness permitting.
This is a madness decision if he plays Kai Havertz. Like, let's just be real. If he plays Kai Havertz ahead of Victor Gyökeres, it is going to be an absolute laughing stock. Like, I do not understand why anyone would want to say Kai Havertz needs to start against Manchester United at Old Trafford ahead of Victor Gyökeres, because we need to mold him in or whatever it is. Let's just play our best team, which I think on paper is very good and has an unbelievable chance of not just winning a trophy, but winning a serious trophy. It should do. If we bring in the likes of Eze's and there's a rumor of, Rodgers or whatever it is on the left wing, on top of what we've got, I'm sorry, DG, he needs to win a trophy at the bare minimum, mate. So
he needs to win it regardless of what comes in or here. We need silverware next season.
Exactly. So this side at the moment is good enough to win a trophy. The one that he's putting together that he gets given, if it is including Gyökeres on top of what we've got and Eze and say Rodgers or Rodrygo, I'm sorry, man, that has to win the Premier League or the Champions League. It has to, like that, because a manager that we should be getting instead of Arteta, if he was to walk out the door or say goodbye, we'd be going and getting an Ancelotti or a Luis Enrique or somebody like that fans would be crying out for. They would win with that team and they'd win a serious team trophy with it because it's a good team. So I need to look at that. And you know, if he's then playing Kai Havertz and trying to experiment Madueke on the left and trying to, you know, stick with Rice and Erdegaard in this kind of three-way midfield thing and it doesn't keep working, his stubbornness will essentially lose his job at the end. So it's a massive pressure season for Mikel Arteta. We got to win something, man. Got to.
We got to win by hook or by crook, regardless of who's there. I'm sure you would have seen, yeah, we've been linked with Eze. He seems like he's the next one that's forever going to get linked with us. Apparently, he's released, while Arsenal have had no intention, apparently, of activating his release clause. His release clause is obviously expired. Do you think we'll get him? Where's your headspace at with Eze? And also on the topic of Eze, you do hear that Arsenal see him as a versatile attacker, but they're kind of comfortable with not getting him because of Wanyeri. So, like, how do you factor all of these things into the Eze thing as well?
This is a massive Andrea Berta decision. There's a couple of factors with this one. I think Eze wants Arsenal. I don't know how much Arsenal want Eze. I think we'll get him because we've been linked with him for God knows how long.
We need
but
this.
I must say, the situation of a release clause worries me because tomorrow it expires. And Crystal Palace know that if we said 68 million, he's coming. We're trying to get him for lower than that. And that is a massive risk because in 2 days' time, Palace can go, oh, Arsenal bid 60 million. 100, please. That's what's going to happen. But we're risking it by allowing it to expire. Oh, hang on a minute. You want 100? Yeah, it was 68 2 days ago. We ain't accepting 68 now. We want 80. We want 90. That's what they will say. So we have to either release the clause before it expires or we need to be damn sure that they're accepting below it when it expires. And that's why I'm looking at Andrea Berta and the team saying, if you want this guy, if Eze's contract expires, his release clause expires, and we haven't put a bid in, I don't think we do want him.
Some would say maybe we're like, what do you say? Because I hear you, but what do you say to those that are saying, do you know what? We've been told the club are trying to sell people, and then we might entertain any sort of dialogue around Eze, like actual Arsenal Crystal Palace.
I find that madness if we need to sell players because we should have been selling players before and we should have been getting this guy done because he's got a release clause. Like I find it okay. Let me put it in a scenario. Let's pretend we've got. Let's choose one of our players. Let's pick Martin Odegaard. Let's pick a good player as well. One of our better players as well, right? Martin Odegaard's got a release clause of 75 million. Okay, and it's expiring tomorrow. Nobody's bid 75 million. Someone offers 60 and we go, yeah, go on then. Of course we're not. We're going to say, no, man, the release clause is done. You didn't want him for 75. He's worth more than that. You give us 120 and we might think about it. That's what Crystal Palace are in now. They're not going to go, oh, we had his release clause 68, but it's expired now, so we'll sell him for less. Yeah, that's 55 with add-ons. No, that ain't going to happen. So we need to either release
the money down, man.
Yeah, we need to release this clause, or they are believing 100% that we're going to get this player because he's agreed terms with us. A few people I know have said, it's done already. It's already done. They've agreed 60. They've agreed the installments. It's all done.
Maybe I'm late, but I ain't seen him do a medical holding an Arsenal shirt. So I hear all of that. But yeah.
I don't believe any of that nonsense because for me, that at the moment, he's still wearing a Palace shirt. He's still got a release clause and we have to release it. If we don't and it's expired, I think there is at the moment, I think there's an unbelievable chance for us to get him. If the release clause expires tomorrow, whenever it is, and we have not put in the bid, I think there's an unbelievable chance that he stays. So,
and that's what makes me nervous.
Of course, and Ben Jacobs apparently has said that Boston said big up in that we've got no intention of triggering the release clause, but we still want him. So
there must be some level of confidence then.
Yeah, like if you're going to let him release clause expire and say, we're still getting him, you've either got 90 million lined up for him or you've got him for 60 million and it's all agreed and all done. So if that's the case and we're letting, if Arsenal want Eze and his release clause expires, I expect Arsenal to have already got the deal done. If Arsenal are going to go back in for him when it expires, he won't come to Arsenal. He'll want to come, but Palace won't accept anything less than 90 million for him, because look at what everyone else is going for. You know, this guy's just single-handedly won the FA Cup. You know what I'm saying? So they're gonna say, well, we believe he's important. He's 26, 27. He's ready now. He's big game check player. Scores against all the big teams. He's coming in, versatile. We want 85, 90 million, please. And they'd be right to do that as well, by the way. So
everyone knows everyone in the Prem's got money, Dan. And the only thing I would say with Eze that would give me some level of confidence is, and then I ain't spoken to about it, if you didn't want to activate his release clause, so you must, whether you can is another thing, but you must believe that you can get a deal done for way below his release clause. You must think maybe you're leveraging the fact that he, like you said, he's like 27, he's got 2 years left on his deal. Maybe this is the best time to sell. Your negotiating hand's going to be weaker next season. But then equally, it goes back to what you're saying in that you could argue his release clause is 68 million, or as you said, they might want 80, 90, but he could actually be worth more than that to them, because I don't know how much it would cost for Crystal Palace to find someone like for like quality, if that makes sense. So it's like, we need to get this done. But I won't lie, Dan, when I look at Eze or Rodrygo and I move beyond those two names, like Eze, versatile attacker, all of this stuff, and Rodrygo, game-changing left winger, couldn't tell you who, Dan. But if you can't get them two, make sure we get that skill set, because I think we need more in the attacking ranks. And also, finally, on Eze, before I move on, Dan, like, where do you see him playing? Because, yeah, I hear, you know, we could maybe drop Zubamendi or Rice and one, you know, you play with 1-6 and you've got rotating guys. He could play off the right. I think he'd get in off the left, but rightly so. Some people say he's not really a left winger. He inverts and that. And then, you know, we have heard Wanyeri makes us a bit more comfortable in us not getting this guy. Like, where does he play? What's his squad role? Like, all of that stuff, which I don't care about. I want the guy in it. Figure that stuff out later. But for you, where are you at with that?
So people have said they want to see Madueke on the left because he's a 1v1 demon. I don't. People say they want to see Eze on the left because he's an unbelievable player and he's an upgrade. I'm sitting on two kind of sides here. I think he is more effective on the left than Martinelli and Trossard, but I don't think
100%.
Yeah, but I don't think he's a left winger. I've got to be honest with you. I think he's a central attacking midfielder. And I actually believe he can play in the 8 or the 10 for us. I think he'd do a better job than Rice in the 8. I've got to be honest, because I think he gives us more flair and I think he can help us with low blocks.
It's more natural in that stuff.
Yep. And I've got to be honest, people don't like it. I'm a fan of the guy, but he's not been good lately. And I think he's going to be better than Ødegaard in the 10. Because I'm not sure that Ødegaard is a proper 10. I think Ødegaard might be an 8. And Eze is a 10. So I believe that he will get games in the 10 role. And I do believe he'll get games on the left wing. Mikel Arteta, again, a big problem. He does not want to drop Martin Ødegaard from the 10. And he does not want to drop Rice from the 8. So unless you're going to play Eze on the left, he's not getting in the
Kai's going to play.
Well, yeah, exactly. So where is he going to play? So I'm a big fan of Eze. And I think he's a baller. And if it was me selecting the team, I'd be playing him in the attacking 10 role, and Ødegaard would be dropped either to the 8 or to the bench. And I don't think that's going to happen. So I think if he does come in, I think he's going to play left wing for Arsenal.
And I wouldn't even be against that. And then even me, not for me, because I don't really care about the fact that he's 27. I just know how our club, quote unquote, kind of operate. And that's a big attraction as to why I wanted Gyökeres beyond the obvious, because it wasn't from the same hymn sheet. But at the end of the day, he's 27. That's not 97, but he's 27. Eze is going to be 27. Zubamendi's 26. Rice is 24, 25. Merino came in last year and he's like 28 or so. Norgard's not going to be here forever, but he's like 31. You know how our team operate. We do care about resale value and stars of tomorrow and being able to play tomorrow and things, which is why I think they looked at it and said, yo, Madueke. And obviously on paper, you've still got Trossard. I don't know, because of how I think the club think, and I don't think it's ability with Eze, if we're going to force the ball out. I think it has to make too much sense. Like, if you know, Palace might be nice to us and say, do you know what? We still want 68 million, but the deal has to make sense. We want 30 here, 20 here, X amount. Don't tell us in the year 3,000 you're going to give us the 15 million you owe us. And I just need to see it happen. Like with Gyökeres, you know me, I was quite pessimistic. I've been pessimistic on these guys. I'll believe it when I see it, but I don't know, man. I just know you need to get Eze. I'm of the thinking now, just get it and sort it out later, man. Do you think would you go for Leao? Would you go for Leao if we can't get Eze? And do you think we need both? Or do you think we need 2 attacking players rather than what we all believe is probably just 1 more in and done?
I think we'll get 1 more and done, but I think we need 2 because the left-hand side is completely stale at Arsenal. And Trossard looks like he's out the door. Martinelli has fallen off of a cliff and had a poor pre-season so far. Rafael Leao, that is a typical Rafael Leao that we saw. Yeah, glimpses of greatness, but across the 90, pretty ineffective. And that's the reason I wouldn't go for him. And a lot of people think I'm mad. Curtis and me disagree about this a lot because he wants him and I don't. I would take Rodrygo 100%. He's the one left winger that I want. Leao, I would take him. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's a shocker, but I think there's better out there than him. I think he's a good player, but not a great player. And I speak to people that watch Italian football and they're like, you don't want him, man. He's
they echo what you say. What you said there.
Yeah, they basically say the people that know him and watch him more than me. I don't watch Leao. I see glimpses of him, right? And I think in those glimpses, he looks great. And then he looks good. But when I look at the scenario of what they tell me, he's great. And then you don't see him for weeks.
Champagne, Martinelli and Trossard then, really?
Yeah. I don't think it's a massive upgrade on Martinelli and Trossard. That's a good way of putting it. And the other thing is apparently his attitude's a bit stinky. Throws his toys out the pram a few times. I don't want players like that. Eze, if comes in, that'd be unbelievable. I'd take Eze over Leao every day of the week. And I think we need a left winger as well. Because I've got to be honest with you. I'm seeing the news today that Isak have had a bid rejected of 120 million. Isak. Liverpool have had a bid of 120 million for Isak rejected, which means they're going to end up getting him. And we need two players coming in.
They're the favourites for the league now. Well, they always were, but
absolutely, bro. Absolutely. And people might say, well, that's mad amount of depth. That's what we need in attack. We need a mad amount of depth, yeah?
Did you not see last season?
One, did you not see last season? And two, we're doing it at the back in defence. So why can't we do it in attack where it's actually exciting? Do you know what I'm saying? Oh, we got Havertz, Jesus, and Gyökeres. Oh, we've got Madueke, Saka, and Max. Oh, we've got Ethan, Eze, and Erdegaard. Oh, we will have Rodrygo, Martinelli, and Trossard. Cool. Let's do it.
Let them fight it out.
Let them fight it out. Let them boot the door down. Whoever's good enough plays. Don't have a first 11. They're all good enough. Let's go for it. That's the way it should be.
Simple, sink or swim. If you're good, you ain't got nothing to worry about, and that's what comes with it. And again, as much as I hear, and I would love to see Max Dowman get better opportunities, even though he's 15, 16, and everyone else would as well, Wanyeri, etc. We know that we can't rely on them to do it for 38 games, so we're going to need other people. I must admit, Dan, I agree with, because what you said about Leao is how I feel. Good player, you know, in terms of ability, would not cry about signing him. You know, could be good on the transition, but you flatter to deceive. I don't know what I'm going to get 10 games. You might be good for 5 of them, shit for the next 5. But I must admit that I am. Maybe it's because it's the preseason, but even though I know these concerns, I'm at the point now. Just spend the money, man. Like, just I need to see. Just spend the cash, man. And just fuck it. Let's try it a different way. Maybe it's because Isaac is going to Liverpool. But yeah, man. If you ask me September where I got my thinking cap on, Dan, I might change my thoughts right now. Just show me the money, splash the cash, get as close to PSR as you can.
I hear that, bro.
Would you take Anthony Gordon? Because we're still linked with Anthony Gordon and Rodrygo.
He wouldn't be on my first list. I would probably take Anthony Gordon ahead of like some other options. But if I'm honest with you, I look at Anthony Gordon and Semenyo in kind of the same bracket, really. I don't look at him in a kind of Rodrygo type player. Rodrygo's the one, bro. I've got to be honest. Like, it has to be Rodrygo for me. And I think that if we get Rodrygo and Eze, I think a lot of people would tip Arsenal to win the league. And I think
it's fair enough if you do that.
Yeah, it's a 9 out of 10 window if we get Rodrygo and Eze on top of Gyökeres, Zubimendi, and co. Got to be.
What's the temperature like with Rodrygo for you? Like, are you optimistic, pessimistic? Is it one where you're just waiting, maybe it drags into the window, etc.?
I genuinely think it's 50-50. I'm not too sure that he's booting the door down to get out of Real Madrid, from what I understand.
Is the problem.
And I also think that it's not going to be Arsenal that are in for him alone. I think Bayern Munich, they've got Luis Diaz, so people are saying they won't want him. Cool. Well, that means that it's just Arsenal then, does it? No. It means Liverpool.
Liverpool still got space for him and money.
Liverpool and Man City are going to want him as well. So, and that's just the Premier League clubs. This is a top talent, by the way. You know, if you look at the left wing market, he's by far the best that's available, if he is available. So let's see. But I know Morgan Rogers you've mentioned. I didn't see this today.
Big up African Gooner. I know he does a lot of the updates and whatnot. But yeah, I wanted to. I know your thoughts on Morgan Rogers, but like, where you at with him? Like, do you think that can be? Surely it's easier. I actually think he might be one of the hardest to do because Villa are going to make it difficult for this guy, and there's talk he might even get a new deal. But where do you rank that? Like, Eze's probably the easiest. Do you think it's easier to get Morgan Rogers over Rodrygo, or like, where's your headspace at with that?
I look at it differently. I think Eze's got to come in, and I think if we can't get Rodrygo, Rogers is the guy I'd go for afterwards. I'd go ahead of Rogers, ahead of Leao, Semenyo, Gordon. I think Morgan Rogers and Eze together, I think they can play attacking 10 and wide. I don't think either of them are natural left wingers, so people might look at it and go, "Is that really what we need?" But I think both of them are talented
They're
boys.
centre mid options as well.
Very, very good, mate. So yeah, I would look at both of these coming in. I'll happily. I mean, who is that? The source there. So my eyes are terrible here. Who is the source there?
I'm not sure what African Gooners who he said, but he said
Okay.
Daily Express. I don't know if that's the Ben Jacobs, the Romanos. I must admit, this summer, Dan, if it's not that hand of Arsenal guy, I'm not really taking it in.
He's had a good summer, man.
Yeah, he has to be. That might even. I actually think that's better because he's been too right about too many things, man.
Scary, isn't it? Scary.
Flipping scary, man. One love for the super chat. Yesterday, I think Rice, Odegaard, Norgard can't play together. It's negative and the progression will be slow. I mean, it's not really the midfield trio you want to see. I hear it. Fair play, man. People, we're gonna let Dan get out of here because we've ran over, and I'm sure he's got things to do and platforms to go on. Because I mean, this guy doesn't sleep, man. I'm in all the panels, whether it's the Arsenal panels or the neutral ones or the one-to-one Gooners, or I can't remember the name, but the thing you do with like Saeed or when it's a rival fan, he's a madman. But we appreciate it, man. Dan, what you got to come out today, my guy? And we're back on his platform on Friday, by the way, folks.
Yeah, man. Back next week on mine. There'll be loads of stuff dropping today and the weekend. So make sure you come over, show some love at Football's 12, man. I'm literally about 1,500 away, I think it is, from 50K. So
come on, let's get to the 5-0, people, man.
That'd be amazing. I know 1,500 is not something you get overnight, but it's what I've got left for the next target, people. So if you can come and hit subscribe, it's free on Football's 12, man. Get me up to 50K for the start of the season, which is my target. So I'd love to do that, man. So thank you, guys. And big up for having me on, man. I've enjoyed it.
Nah, man, you're part of the family, Dan, man. And again, I'll do him one better. It's in the title of the vid. It doesn't cost a thing to just hit the like button and subscribe, people. And I'll even put in emotional blackmail to make you lot do that. If you don't want Eze and Rodrygo or either, or if you don't go and subscribe to Dan's platform, it's not going to happen unless you do that. Now, you could be saying I'm talking nonsense, but don't play those games. If you want better to get the signings in, go and follow the 12th Man's podcast. And again, you can say what you want about Dan, about myself, about our opinions, but our hearts are in the right place where it comes to Arsenal. So why not support your own people? So yeah, well, you ain't got nothing to come out this afternoon though, like no streams.
Yeah, there's one to come out later. I'm going to be uploading. I'm going to be dropping one. I've just got to work out what time it is, and I'll be back on tonight, man, talking all things Arsenal. And I'm going to talk about this Isak stuff as well because it's worrying me, man. I've got to be honest. So yeah,
I've accepted it, man. I've got too many things Arsenal related to worry, man. Liverpool could do magical things. I'm not even getting vexed, man. But yeah, people, I'm back in probably about 2 minutes or so. I'm back at 1:30. Dan, appreciate you. I'm back on his platform on Friday. So yeah, subscribe, turn on the notification bells, and we are out, folks. One love. In a bit.